the stare decisis argument, Biscon, and then the counterpoint. Ready? They say everything is God creation, we always destroy things. That is not our argument. The one I see does not say that destruction in and of itself is bad, but destruction is part of life. Things lie and that things live and then they die, but rather that the child is a gift of God and we should give the opportunity for life. They say banning abortions will not stop them all. It's under the evidence of the court. Function of the court is normative, even if it does not stop abortions completely. The court sends a signal that we are not a society that kills children. The court constitutes us through the stories that it tells, which means that abortion can no longer be performed without regret for the unborn, even if its performance instances the illegal abortions increase the chance of infection, and the legal abortions obliterate the possibility of life. There's not an impact to infections. They say that we do not stop all the uses of the state. We do not say the state is bad. We say the state is good if it is infused with God. They say that there can be meaning without God, that there are spring beings not making meaningful. For first extent, Cunningham evidence that they treat existence as a given as opposed to a gift, which is a possibility, which obliterates the possibility for infusing the world with meaning. Second, that even if there is your own meaning, that there is not a possibility of objective truth, which means that you cannot impose meaning on others, which means that they can choose to find meaning in whatever way they want, including raping women or killing Jews, etc. They say that the calculation is inevitable. You have to have a duty to avoid consequences. First, it begs the question of what a consequence is. We know that life is not the consequence to be before the aces affirmative evidence. Second is the Cunningham evidence that you have no framework for evaluation. In order to have structure impact claims, you have to have a metaphysics of transcendent. Only we establish the transcendent in this case. The a priori is a philosophical explanation of values inevitably contradict. You cannot avoid. You cannot structure them without something to anchor them. If you they say the deontology, there'll also be cards read on this on the Biscon arguments. They say the deontology is bad. If you think that this is a response to your affirmative, then you are out of your mind. Deontology is the theory of rights forwarded by Kant. The one I see as a criticism of this. They say the common evidence is there's no reason that the plan chooses ontology. First is there's capital on evidence that in the Declaration we find a fuller conception of the human, that we were endowed with creator. This is also not relevant because the common evidence is a way that you can evaluate around on the stare decisis. First, there are cons of why evidence is empirically denied. The court exists before the doctrine of stare decisis was reified in Casey, and they were legitimate. Their link evidence is also not reverse causal. Even if stare decisis is important in legitimacy, there's no evidence that hurting it to stories of legitimacy. This also doesn't answer our solve. This does not prove that we did not solve this in the Goldstein evidence about the function of the court is normative. Even order, it does not order society enforcement. Literally, is not what is relevant. Rather, the court constructs society by telling the stories, and those stories constitute our vision of morality. And the doctrine of stare decisis is affirmed in Casey, renders the Constitution opposite belief. The dissent. The question falls into the doctrine of the Holy Court in Casey, the Roman speaking to whether or not it's mistaken because the traditional doctrine of stare decisis. Somewhat remarkable, of course, the adherence of doctrine of stare decisis is especially important because the implication not adherence of power to proceed to official legitimacy. In other words, court error in Rome Act. The court concerns the maintenance of its own judicial power because the course of legitimacy proceed. Required to stick within what is inside, whether or not mistaken, irrespective of any other consequence, dramatic importance. Serves as a doctrinal level for all constitutional law. Case taken serious is no journal subsequent is in effect the court is certain must be taken seriously. Establish more confidence doctrine of stare decisis and giving the course of necessity moral authority to avoid the constitutional self and the unchecked liberty granted by the mystery passage renders the rule of law worse obsolete and the best unenforceable. DeMarco and 2K4. In the case, the majority informed that the heart of liberty is recognition of consequences is the main universe mystery from life consideration of liberty legal acts of electric power, or rather it render the rule of law either obsolete or unenforceable. Can the rule of law thrive in the devil's absolute simultaneously anti cosmic and anti-social framers of the Constitution visible as capable American exercising freedom of solitary dream of world or contribute to your contribution to the common good and their democracy argument is impact turned by the 1AC. First is that the notion of atomized individual makes violence inevitable. This is a rights and who has evidence of rights are granted solely to protect the individual from the fellow human being, which creates a society of enemies. Authentic human communities impossible in the framework which reduces the human to nothing more than superior animal fighting for resources. We are not alone. Our lives are not private. They are shared. We participate with one another in the body of Christ. Our harvest evidence and everything. Liberty applies that personhood is defined by the ability to choose. This is Kulo and Tusky evidence that this is the foundation for the designation of the non-purposely life. Can be reached on. There's no check on what constitutes submission and cognition. The notion of liberty exists all. Like to the unconditional capacity to be able to explain the zone of the distinction between liberals and totalitarians. This will also extend the rash evidence that violence and exclusions are inevitable. What elevates Christianity is that non-believers can become believers, which is what makes them out of the same category. Being humanity is not part of the distinction. Is what makes our distinction possible only within the paradigm of liberal humanism. Or democracy is the category of the inhuman. Here, if humanity is the political value, then it is the positive pole of the distinction that demands the creation of it. Not the human opposite. This makes endless wars inevitable and renders all life politically meaningless because it can be excluded from their conception of humanity. Now, the Biscon is in. First is that there's not a link. This evidence is about business planning with regards to things like Commerce Clause regulations, not literally regulations. Force them to read a specific link to the mystery passage. I should not even have to answer this argument in the 2AC because it's sandbagging. There's also no internal link to the laws of business certainty. It just says that a hurt certainty business is uncertain. This is stupid. Their internal link to their impact evidence assumes a complete class of business confidence and other issues prove it's not unique. Things like tax and social security reform and environmental regulations will inevitably cause business uncertainty. And there's also no internal link to Bearden. Their evidence does not say a global economic class. It just says a possibility or a recession. It does not even say the United United States would experience the depression. Also, the myriad evidence is terrible. It does not have a scenario for extinction. And the fear of death is what produces a social body of enemies. This is our Hauerwas evidence that the drive protection reinforces the Hobbesian notion that the state binds a body to atomize individuals by their mutual fear of one another. This makes human community impossible and is a reason to reject the dissent. Life should not be a supreme political value. Must appeal to something beyond the finitude of human existence. Death is inevitable. Welcoming children in the image of God places something in the world that can live beyond us, and their extinction impact links to our rash evidence. Extinction begs the question: extinction of whom? They can merely exclude people from the category of human. This explains why this explains why Hitler was able to justify the Holocaust on behalf of the threat of the extinction of humanity, which he interpreted as the Aryan race. Extinction is inevitable. We all die inevitably, but there's no reason that you should prioritize this as a value categorically preferable to the individual. Death in our Hauerwas evidence life cannot be our supreme political value. We die, we have the possibility of creating something on earth, and whatever limited in the prioritization of extinction obfuscates our primary responsibility to bear witness to the kingdom of heaven. This links to all of our 1AC opponents and our ontology arguments prove that this is irrelevant. You should value debate in terms of whose ontological framework is more likely to produce the conditions for human extinction. And the question of being perceived the consequences of planets that are cutting out our carbon evidence, our ethics are prefigured by the way we exist in the world. Any system of thought renders itself intelligible only by way the host of ontological assumption. Only transcendence can offer the form of explanation that escapes these aporias of value judgments. Existence is a gift, and this fidelity to being as such precedes essence. We must live in a profound awe of the giftedness of life as we close out the possibility of experience. An ontology of unity precludes the origin of violence, i.e. human estrangement. We need to participate with one another. If one suffers, all suffer. This outweighs any risk of the argument. Only the possibility of escaping the inevitability of violence endorses this commitment to participation solves its origin. And this is all not to say that we should ignore consequences, but rather that any consequential evaluation is made coherent only through a specific ontology. The recognition of absolute truth is a precondition for rendering any value judgment about their impact claims. Now, the canon. First, that this is impact by the 1AC extend our Hauerwas rights evidence. The notion of rights creates a body of enemies that makes the ontology of unity impossible. These arguments are all impact shared on the start of Decisis argument. We cannot anchor abortion in rights or anchor it in life. This is not the task of the Christian. We should hope that life begins. There are the notion that it is the right to life obscures our obligation. It tells us that there are not things that we're dying for, and we only exist as our life. It is our life in opposition to the other. It is violence inevitable. It's also links to our rash evidence. The notion of rights, which means that you can exclude people from the conception of humanity. This was affected on Decisis. This doesn't solve any of the 1AC. The 1AC is not about abortion. It is about the mystery process, the broad granting of rights given in the Casey decision. The counterplan does not rule this unconstitutional, which means it is still precedent. All of the 1AC is a dissent, and their counterplan is impossible. The right to moral relativism was granted by the Court of Congress, tries to limit it. The court will strike it down. For example, states try to enforce an objective moral code in the world. If the counterplan or abortion, somebody would challenge that law in court and win, which renders the counterplan void. This is 100% solvency deficit. This also means the counterplan is a status quo, and the counterplan is a legal merit. It's a San 2K6. The hypothetical position of granting an analysis such as this to be hypothetical number one, explicit overruling the court decision. Congress may not pass a law of return. Such a law would simultaneously violate the reproductive rights granted by Roe v. Wade, the right to find to judicial rule guaranteed by Barr v. Madison. It is difficult to imagine a viable legal argument defending Congress's authority to pass such a law, and this is the voting issue. The point is predictability. If it's not legally viable option, it's not grounded anywhere in the literature. Basis allows an infinite amount of counterplans that destroys applicability. B someone is grounded in the negative. If you get out of legality issues that obliterates the avenues for opposites, nobody writes reasons why counterplan is bad. It's not possible, and they solve none of the 1AC. The court is key. It's a point our goal to the evidence. The function of the law is pedagogical. It's not a question of legality, whether we communicate the message that we are a society that kills children. Without the court, the message is inescapable because the law remains a stop. Only overruling this language is capable of teaching the norm of nihilistic hedonism, and Congress cannot restrict rights concerning abortion. Shapiro and 2K2 academics have questioned whether Congress never read a court decision on constitutional person in the Supreme Court of abortion. The Supreme Court held that the word person does not include the unborn. Roe, however, does not say that the Congress could overrule a court decision by enacting a law defining fetus as a person. City of born Flores, which held that Congress may not rewrite this and guarantees that the Constitution bars Congress from overturning Roe. I have time, so I guess I'll maybe could read. Yeah, permutation to both. I guess I could read pics. I'm not even sure if it's a pic. It's not a pic. It's not a pic. It's not a pic, so I'm done.
Okay. I guess. Okay. Explain this difference between existence being a given versus a gift to me. That's not a question.
Well, because without, if there's no meaning, then existence just is, and it's a given. There's not. It wasn't given to us by anyone.
No. But why does God have this unique ability to provide meaning?
Well, that's the argument that it's from something. We owe something. It's a gift.
It could be from the Big Bang. That's something.
Sure, but then if that's, God is not the dude of the beard in your parents' church. The God in the 1AC is a theory of unity and a theory of absolute truth. If you think that Big Bang is absolute truth, and you adhere to a notion of God, you agree. Whatever your notion of truth is, that's God.
Okay. That seems to me like, why doesn't Hitler have a notion of truth?
He did. The 1AC does not endorse that one. People have, that's the...
So I'm trying to understand what yours is, I guess, is...
The belief that we exist as one.
Exist? What does that mean?
that it is one body, that we participate with Christ in one body.
Participate in what? And
With one another, that we are not just that what we do is not just for ourselves, but rather it's for everyone, and what we do affects other people, and you can't just do whatever you want with yourself because you're part of other people. You literally are part of them.
okay. So things like we should avoid, violence towards other people, right?
Well, but violence is not the orienting principle. Stopping violence can't be the orienting principle because it doesn't make any sense. Like stopping violence sometimes causes violence. But if unity is the orienting principle, violence won't happen, or that's at least the hope. And maybe it will. But it's a question of principles of how you start, either with JC
Principle
or
and how you start.
humanism.
Okay, fair enough. So it's okay, interesting. Okay, then I guess my question becomes then, right? Why is destroying a little part of the unity, right, this important thing that has to be stopped, right?
I guess it's. Our Rice Evidence is actually very good, indicating that this mystery passage is formed the basis for modern conception of liberty and made possible this euthanasia decision. And it's not just abortion is not just one side. The plan is not about abortion; it's rather about this thing called mystery portions and passage. And I think that.
It sounds like the plan's about abortion to me, right?
It's
so why when I step on a bug, am I destroying unity?
Probably not. I don't think that when I see really talks about insects.
Well, I understand your 1AC doesn't, but I'm wondering your principles within your 1AC, what would they say about that?
Probably not destroying unity.
Not destroying unity. So what's the bright line here? Fetuses are unity, bugs are not, mammals?
Mammals,
They seem sort of arbitrary to me, I guess is what I'm trying to...
the 1AC doesn't say what a human is.
From?
I think that we can know what a human is, but it doesn't make a decision on a human as such. It just says that, the decision comes from, the decision comes from God, and God is the orienting principle of it.
Okay, cool.
9 minutes.